Welcome back to the show. This morning, we're talking about one attitude shift that will revolutionize your relationship. Relationship expert David Flowers from David Flowers Couples Teletherapy is back with us this morning to dive in on this topic. So what is that attitude shift we're talking about that's so important?
So it's really simple. People probably haven't really thought much about this.
Okay.
But the attitude shift is that it matters more whether your partner feels loved than whether you think you're loving your partner.
Okay, so slow down. I got to absorb that one.
Right.
Say it one more time.
So it matters more whether your partner feels loved
Okay.
than how well you think you're loving your partner.
Interesting. So you mean your personal sense of whether you love your partner, whether you are treating them well, doesn't matter at all?
Well, I mean, it matters for you. I mean, it feels good to feel good about the way you're loving your partner, right?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that ultimately it's a service really that you're rendering to your partner. You're loving them for their sake. And so their take on how well you're doing that is really the main thing.
Interesting. So, why is that? Can you make this a little clearer for us? Because I'll bet it's not something most people have thought about this way before.
Sure. Well, a couple examples, right? Like a chef is preparing meals and cooking, but their job isn't just to do that. It's to make sure that the person who's coming into the restaurant is having an amazing experience.
Right.
A teacher's job isn't just to stand up and just sort of bloviate and like talk about stuff. It's to make sure that the students are learning. So in the same way, our job when we're loving our partner isn't just to make sure that we're doing a bunch of things that we think are loving. It's to make sure that on their end, they're experiencing that as love.
So intentional.
Intentionality, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So does this mean that if your partner is not feeling love per se, that you in fact are not loving them? Is it kind of like, is it almost like a perception is reality type thing? Can you explain that?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I see this a lot where somebody thinks, oh, well, I'm doing a really good job. I do all of these things. I do this and this and this. How come you're not feeling it? And the reason for that typically is because people really care about their partners, but a lot of the times we're doing the kinds of things to love our partner that actually we want our partner to do for us.
Gotcha.
Right? Instead of really listening and kind of tuning in to find out what is it that they need.
Interesting. So if your partner is maybe feeling like they aren't the most loved, what should you do?
Yeah, well, let's talk about a couple things not to do first, right? Because one of the main things I see is one partner says, "Oh, well, I'm really not feeling loved," and the other partner says, "Well, that doesn't make sense because here's all the stuff I right, yeah. Exactly," and they start kind of rattling off that list, right? Mm-hmm. Which really means that they're taking it personally. They're kind of hearing it as if it's a character flaw in them, as if they're not a good wife or husband. And really what we need to do instead is just kind of listen to where the other person is coming from and realize that this is really about them more than it is about us. And they're trying to convey to us really important information. So I always tell my clients, hey, when your partner is trying to get across to you what they need, the best way to approach that, I think, as you're listening is just to go, oh, well, thank you for that information, right? Most people want to love their partners, and we just sometimes aren't doing it in a way that it's resonating with them.
Well, it sounds like at the crux of it too, David, comes down to good communication.
Oh,
right?
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Make things clear.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to love your partner properly if you don't know the kinds of things your partner needs.
Right, because I think we've all been there before, like, honey, I cut the grass and I took out the trash, and it's like, that's not really doing it for me.
Yeah, and it will for some people,
right,
but for other people, it's more like, hey, when you stop up at the store, if you see a little knickknack that reminds you of me, that would really be meaningful to me. Things like that.
Back to that intentionality.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yep.
You always make us stop and think. We appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So our thanks to David Flowers for coming on, talking about that attitude shift. There's the information on your screen for David Flowers Couples Teletherapy. And yeah, I'll remember not to brag on myself about cutting the grass, because you know what? Who cares? Who cares? Good to see you again, David.
You too, man.
All right, we take a live look outside, and you're not really going to be able to